What's up, everybody? Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day here in the United States. And you know what that means? We are now officially halfway through the year, and there have been a lot of great films that have come out in 2025 so far. By all means, this is not an fully inclusive list. These are just the ones that I've seen that I would put in my top 10 of the year. Before we get into this, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm really close to 2,000 followers, and every single subscription helps, so I really appreciate that. Share this with your friends if you find it useful, and let's get into it. Okay, first up, we've got Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. This is kind of on the bottom of my list, just barely making it in here. I think that this one is one of the top ones of the year for me, just because of all the hard work that Tom Cruise put into this production. The stunt work is absolutely insane. And I know this is probably a controversial pick, and it's probably not on everyone's top 10 list so far of the year. But to me, this one, I love the whole series of Mission Impossible. I think this has some of the best stunt work we've ever seen yet. They just keep getting better and better. Story's a bit long. It does get a little tropey from time to time. But overall, this is still one of the best made films of the year. The budget was insane, and it shows in its production. Next up for me is going to be 28 Years Later. Now, I liked 28 Days Later, and I liked 28 Weeks Later, and I was really shocked that this was going to be good. I had heard about all the behind-the-scenes stuff going on with this one, as far as, the production still taking place, recording on digital, just like the other two previously were. And I don't know if they could capture the magic that they had of that original film, but I think they did, and I think it shows. The box office pulled that this was the highest opening weekend for one of these films yet. I think people were thirsty for this kind of film again, and it's been such a long time. So I really think that this one hit all the marks as far as what we could expect from a sequel that came out so many years later after the original. So I'm really excited to have this one in the top 10 of the year so far, and it definitely deserves a place in there. Next up, we have Companion. When this one came out in January, I was shocked. I was actually floored of how good it was for such a early film to come out in the beginning of the year. I actually thought it may be one of the best movies of the year back then, and it still makes my top 10 list at least halfway through the year. The only thing I was disappointed with was the marketing for this film. I mean, clearly on the poster, we do have a spoiler in here, which they marketed the heck out of this beforehand. And I actually went in not realizing what the plot twist was, and it caught me off guard, and I had a really great time with this film. However, once you know what that twist is before, it kind of takes a little bit of that away. So I'm glad I went in without watching too many trailers and not really realizing what was going on here with this artwork. But that being said, it was still a very creative story to me. So I was really excited to see this one and see that it's still ranking high in my top 10, and we're halfway through the year already. Next up, we have Bring Her Back. This is probably the scariest movie I've seen since Hereditary, and I know a lot of people are saying that, but it truly is. I mean, I've seen a lot of body horror and grotesque horror movies throughout the years, and this one just kind of really gets under your skin. It was so bad, like I felt like I needed to take a bath in holy water after watching it for the first time. But the story actually made me want to rewatch it to kind of see maybe things that I missed, different plot points I could pick up on and more better understand the second time through. And I'm glad that I did go back and watch it another time, because this movie, if you can get over the body horror, is pretty great. So it's another Danny and Michael Philippou who brought us Talk to Me a couple years ago, which I love that film. And this one did not disappoint. So I highly recommend checking this one out if you have the stomach for it. Of course, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and I totally get that. So if you're not into body horror, definitely avoid this film. But otherwise, it's really, really good, and I'm glad that we have that this year. Next up, we have F1, and this one also is probably a little bit controversial for best of the year. Maybe it's a little bit of recency bias, but I actually love this story. I think the directing is really what sold it for me. The same guy that brought us Top Gun Maverick directed this one, so if you like that fast-paced action style with the same kind of camera work, that's in here as well. I don't know much about racing or F1 at all, really, but I really, really enjoyed this movie. And that's two things going on. That's one is I like the action, and I like seeing it in IMAX as well as 4DX. I went back a second time and saw it in 4DX, and that was absolutely incredible. But also because I like underdog sports movies, like it's a guilty pleasure movie of mine. So I really like sports-based films, especially underdog type stories. And this really hit the mark for me. It's nothing new or nothing really original as far as story goes, but the budget that they put into this movie and the way that it's crafted and told, and visually and acting wise, everything is pretty great in this film. So it's a substandard story, but everything else kind of makes up for it, and that's why it's in my top 10 of the year so far. Next up, we have Warfare. I saw this one a few months ago in the theaters, and I will say that this is one of those theater experiences that you don't really forget. There's not too much of a score or soundtrack involved in this film. It is just, it all takes place in one day of a combat in Iraq, and you really feel like you're there with this small group of soldiers. Probably the loudest movie I've seen and the most unnerving, I guess, that I felt in the theater. I know this is kind of a controversial film, but I think it does a great job of telling the story of what happened that day to these people, and you really resonate with that, and it's portrayed in a way that is unforgettable. So that's why this one is in my top 10 of the year so far. Next up, my only real comedy, if you want to call it that, on the list is Friendship. I had a blast with this film. It is extremely absurd. It is more of a dark comedy, I guess you'd say, than a regular comedy. So I don't know if this is going to be for everyone, but it was so well made, and Tim Robinson definitely delivers. So if you like his kind of humor, I think you'll enjoy it. But this is kind of one where you may not be able to see it with certain friends if they don't understand. You kind of have to know your friend's sense of humor before going in to see this one, because I could definitely see it being divisive. But I really enjoyed it, and I love a good Paul Rudd movie, and he's in this as well. Definitely playing someone a little bit different than he normally does, and I thought that was great to see too. So this is a really good film, and I highly recommend it if you like that style of humor. If not, might want to pass this one, but otherwise I enjoyed it. Next up in my top 10 list is Final Destination Bloodlines. This is a more recent release, and I really like this one. I grew up loving the Final Destination series. I loved all of them, really. So this one I was really looking forward to because it's been such a long time, and it did not disappoint. This was very fun. I actually saw this in 4DX for the first screening that I went to, and it was a blast. It was probably the best 4DX movie I'd been to up until that point, which then I saw F1, and that was a little bit better. But this film really kind of kicks up. It starts in a unique way than the other films do, and it kind of took a unique twist on the whole storyline that Final Destination films typically follow, and I really appreciated that. It kind of, it got a breath of fresh air into this series, and I think that it's got people excited about more Final Destination movies, so hopefully we get some more in the future, and I'm excited to see where the franchise goes from here. So again, this is pretty unusual for a sequel, so we got 28 years later, and now Final Destination Bloodlines, both being on my top 10 list for this year. It's very unusual year. Some great sequels coming out this year. All right, and you knew that this one had to be on here. This one is Sinners. Ryan Coogler absolutely delivered a banger film for us this year. This works on so many different levels, and it's very intricately told. This is one you're definitely going to have to rewatch a couple of times. I know the first time I saw it, I was impressed, and I really appreciated that generational dance moment. If you know, you know. And I think that this was one of the better films for sure. I could just smell Oscar contender written on all over this when I saw it. So this is one that I think you appreciate more the more that you watch it and can understand the subtext and what's going on with all these different situations. Very well made, very well shot. Michael B. Jordan, incredible acting in this film. Really, this is definitely one of the best movies of the year. To say it's not would be an understatement. So I'm very happy that this one came out this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it does this Oscar season. This is going to be 2 years in a row now where we've had some kind of horror presence in the Oscars. Last year, of course, with the French film The Substance, and this year with Sinners. So let's hope this does a little bit better than that one. I'm just glad, and I think it's going to get nominated for quite a few things. So we'll see what happens at the end of the year. And speaking of sequels, we have a remake in my top 10 list, which I never thought would happen, and that is How to Train Your Dragon. I just don't know how this could have been executed any better. This live action retelling of the original is more than I could ever hope for. I think what really does it is a lot of the original people involved coming back to help create this one, especially Dean DeBois. I think he did an amazing job here. And really the actors and actresses understanding the assignment here, it all just kind of fell into place. And this was, you couldn't ask for a better remake at all. And a lot of people I know, this is a little divisive from the original fans because they say it doesn't have the same heart or soul. I like the original movie, but I wasn't like a super fan of it or anything. But this one I absolutely fell in love with, and I think that remaking it today makes sense. We've got a lot of humans involved. We've got this dragon with some attitude. Got a couple other dragons that are in there. It just makes sense. Some of the other remakes don't make sense to me. Like, why would you remake The Lion King into a live action when animals don't sing and dance like that? At least with Toothless, there's no verbal communication. We don't hear him talking or anything. There's some attitude, of course, and that's expressed very well. Thought the CGI and the camera work felt huge, right? I mean, we're seeing these realistic dragons in this huge epic world that previously could only be created in animation. And this is the type of film where live action shines now, is the fact that we've got the tools and the technology to bring these grandiose stories to life in this manner and make it more timeless and relevant than it ever has been. And I think that that's what I appreciate most about this film. To me, I still felt the heart and soul in the movie. They made it 30 minutes longer, I think, to expand on the relationships, especially between the father and Hiccup, and a couple other side characters have got some expanded roles. And I think that that was great. I really resonated with this film more than I thought I would. So that's why it's on my top 10 list for this year. So, what do you guys think? What's in your top 10 list for the year so far? I'd love to hear it down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you like early movie reviews and deep dives and breakdowns like this. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments down below. And I look forward to seeing you at the next show.